The person who hurt you is not always the person who understands you best. Sometimes, they only know the exact place inside you where you are easiest to break. Some wounds do not keep you attached because there is still love there. They keep you attached because you are afraid of living a life where that person is no longer waiting at the edge of it. Sometimes, you do not love them anymore. You are only afraid that if you finally let them go, all the pain you endured will have meant nothing. And some people only remember you when they begin to fear they are losing control over you. Late at night, your phone lights up. An old name appears on the screen. Just one message. And already, your heart begins to beat faster. Your hand grows cold. Your stomach tightens. Something catches in your throat, as if your body has swallowed a word it cannot let go of. You have not opened the message yet, but your body remembers. It remembers all the times you had to explain yourself, all the times you were blamed for being quiet, all the times a sentence like, "I still love you," or "You still matter to me," was used like a rope to pull you back into a place where you once bled. Perhaps the most frightening thing is not that they have returned. Perhaps the most frightening thing is that somewhere inside you, there is still a small bird that trembles every time it hears the old bowstring. That old bowstring does not always sound from the outside. Sometimes, it is pulled inside your own mind. You ask yourself, if I still shake like this, does that mean they still matter? You ask, if one message can tighten my chest, does that mean I still love them? And then, very quietly, the mind begins to lie. It tells you that because this person hurt you so deeply, they must be the one who knows you most deeply. But not everyone who knows where you hurt knows how to love you. Some people know exactly where you are fragile, not because they once listened to you with tenderness, but because they touched that place again and again with control, with blame, with silence, with apologies that came too late and then turned back into the same wound. And this is one of the hardest traps to see. We confuse the depth of the wound with the depth of love. We confuse the person we cannot forget with the person who truly cherished us. We confuse the feeling of being pulled back with the voice of the heart. But an old wound is not proof of love. It is only a place inside you that needs to be seen clearly, before it is handed back to the same hand that once made it bleed. So before you hand that wound to any hand again, pause for a moment. You do not have to decide right now. You do not have to answer right now. You do not have to prove that you are strong, or healed, or calm enough to face that old name without trembling. Just feel your body in this moment. Your back resting against the bed. Your shoulders, perhaps still tight. Your hand, perhaps still wanting to reach for the phone. Your breath, perhaps shallow, as if something small and living inside you has just heard the sound that once frightened it. When the body is still shaking, you do not need to make a decision tonight. You only need to see clearly what is making you shake. Long ago, when he was still a child, Siddhatta saw a trembling body like that too. Not in the blue light of a screen, but on the cold ground of a garden. Not because of a message, but because of an arrow. That arrow had crossed the sky on a morning long ago. Siddhatta was still a child then. The palace garden was quiet, as it had always been. Young sunlight rested gently on the trees. A soft wind moved through the leaves, scattering small patches of gold across the grass. Somewhere above, birds called to one another in thin, bright voices, as if the sky had never known sorrow. Siddhatta was walking slowly through the garden when he heard a strange sound. It was not loud, but it was enough to make his heart stop for a moment. Something white fell from the open air. At first, he thought it was a torn piece of cloud, loosened by the wind. But when it struck the ground, its wings moved weakly, and Siddhatta saw blood. A white swan. It lay on its side in the grass. One wing opened, then folded back in pain, as if the body still remembered flight, but no longer had the strength to rise. In the soft white feathers, an arrow was buried deep. Blood seeped out around it, painfully red against the brightness of the wing. Siddhatta ran to it. The swan panicked and tried to move away, but its body only trembled. Its small eyes were wide. Its breath came broken and thin. Its beak opened slightly, but no cry came out. There was only a fragile life trying to hold on to one more breath. In that moment, Siddhatta did not ask who had shot the arrow. He did not ask where the swan had come from. He did not ask who it belonged to. Before any argument could begin, before right and wrong had names, before anyone could step into the room and claim victory, there was only one truth lying on the ground. A living being was in pain. And when a living being is in pain, the first thing it needs is not judgment, not a title, not a hand reaching out to take it back. It needs a hand gentle enough to come close without making it more afraid. And that hand lowered itself very slowly. Siddhatta did not reach for the swan at once. He knelt in the grass and kept his body still, as if even one sudden movement might send more fear through the small, trembling life before him. The swan was still shaking. Its white wings drew inward. One wing was stained with blood. The arrow lay there, hard and cold, like something that did not belong in such a soft and living body. Each time the bird breathed, the shaft of the arrow moved slightly, and more red spread into the white feathers. Siddhatta reached out his hand, not the hand of someone who wanted to possess, but the hand of a child trying to tell a creature without words, "Do not be afraid. I have not come to hurt you more." Gently, he lifted the swan into his arms. Its body was warm and weak. Its heart beat quickly beneath the thin feathers, like a tiny drum struck again and again by fear. Siddhatta felt that beating pass into his own chest, and in that moment, he no longer saw a strange bird from the sky. He saw a life asking to live. He looked carefully at the wound. If the arrow stayed there, the swan would continue to bleed. But if he pulled it out too harshly, the pain might break what little strength it had left. So he held the wing with one hand. With the other, he took hold of the arrow. Slowly, softly, the arrow came free. The swan convulsed in his arms. A small cry escaped it, thin and brief, then disappeared back into its breath. Siddhatta felt his throat tighten, but he did not let go. He found healing leaves, crushed them gently, and placed them over the wound. He wrapped the wing with soft cloth, not too tight, not too loose. Then he covered the bird in a warm robe and laid it near the fire. The light of the flames moved across the white wings. The arrow rested silently on the ground. For the first time since it had fallen from the sky, the swan stopped struggling. It was still in pain, but now that pain had been placed somewhere that knew how to listen, Siddhatta sat beside it for a long time. He did not think he had done something great. He did not think of victory. He did not think that from this moment on, the swan belonged to him. A hand that truly knows how to love is like that. It does not ask, "Are you mine?" It asks, in every quiet movement, "Where do you still hurt?" But just as the swan's breathing began to soften, another sound came from beyond the doorway. Footsteps, slow, certain, coming closer, and in the hand of the one who was approaching, there was still a bow. The bow appeared before the face did. One curved edge slipped past the doorway. Then Devdatta stepped inside. The light from the courtyard fell behind him, stretching his shadow across the floor. In his hand was the small bow. At his side was a quiver of arrows. His breath was faster than usual, as if he had run through the garden looking for something he believed he had lost. Siddhatta lifted his eyes. The swan, wrapped in the warm robe, startled softly. Its wing drew inward. Its head sank deeper into the folds of cloth, as if the body remembered something in those footsteps before the mind could understand it. Devdatta saw the bird. His eyes lit up, not with the relief of someone glad that a living creature had survived, but with the brightness of someone who had found an object he thought was his. "Why are you keeping my swan?" Devdatta asked. Siddhatta was silent for a breath. He looked at the bow in Devdatta's hand. Then he looked at the swan lying near the fire. The wound had been wrapped, but a faint red still showed beneath the cloth. Each breath of the bird was short and delicate, as if it might disappear if the room became too harsh. "This swan is wounded," Siddhatta said quietly. "I know," Devdatta answered. "I shot it." The words fell into the room like a small stone dropped into still water. Not loud, but enough to make everything inside Siddhatta grow still. Devdatta stepped closer. When it was flying in the sky, it belonged to no one, but I shot it down, so now it is mine. The logic sounded simple, clean, certain, and very much like the way human beings speak when they have learned to look at life through possession. If I touch something, it is mine. If I make someone cry, they must remember me. If I make someone fall, they cannot leave without turning back. Siddhatta stood. He did not stand to win an argument. He did not stand to prove that he was kinder, or wiser, or better than Devdatta. He stood because behind him there was a small living being that had only just begun to stop trembling. "No," Siddhatta said. His voice was not loud, but it was clear. "The swan does not belong to the one who hurt it. It needs to be healed." Devdatta frowned. "But I shot it." "Because you shot it," Siddhatta said, looking directly at his cousin. "You cannot say it belongs to you." The room became very quiet. Only the fire made a small sound. Only the wounded swan breathed inside the robe. Only the arrow lay on the floor, cold and still, like a witness that could not speak. And from that moment, the question in the room was no longer simply who owned a bird. The real question was this: does the one who creates a wound have the right to call that wound his own? That question did not remain in the small room where Siddhatta was standing. It traveled much farther than that. It entered the hidden rooms inside the human heart. Because some wounds, once they happen, do not leave only pain behind. They leave something more dangerous, a quiet kind of power. The person who made you cry becomes the person you cannot forget. The person who made you afraid becomes the person whose mood you keep trying to read. The person who made you feel small becomes a distorted mirror you keep looking into, asking, "Am I worthy of love?" And then, somewhere deep in the mind, a courtroom is built. Inside that courtroom, you are no longer simply the one who was hurt. You become the one who must defend your own pain. You have to explain why it wounded you. You have to prove why you went silent. You have to wonder whether you were too sensitive, too cold, too unforgiving, too cruel for not wanting to open the door one more time. And the one who shot the arrow? In that hidden courtroom, they are no longer standing as the one who caused the wound. Strangely, the mind places them in the judge's chair. They become both the one who made you fall and the one who seems to decide how long you are allowed to hurt, when you are allowed to leave, and whether you are allowed to live differently now. That is when a wound becomes a prison, not because the arrow is still inside the wing, but because the mind still believes the archer is holding the key. In real life, that person may not even be standing in front of you anymore. They may be far away. Months may have passed. Years may have passed. But then one name appears. One old sentence returns. One photograph crosses your eyes by accident. And the whole body folds inward again, like a bird hearing the bowstring. Because the mind has not yet seen clearly. It still believes that pain lasting a long time must mean love was deep. It still believes that remembering someone must mean belonging to them. It still believes that the person who touched your weakest place must be the one who truly understands you. But sometimes, they do not understand you. They only know where you bleed. And if you do not see this clearly, you may keep calling the cage love. You may call control concern. You may call being pulled back fate. You may call fear loyalty. But the truth is much simpler than that. Someone may have hurt you. Someone may have left a mark so deep that even your body remembers it. But that pain does not automatically give them the right to enter your life forever. But if this is not seen clearly, the pain does not end with the first wound. It learns how to be born again. At first, you hurt because of a sentence, a cold reply, a sudden disappearance, a controlling demand, a moment when someone made you feel so small that you began apologizing for your own sadness. That was the first arrow. It came quickly. It made you fall. But later, when the person had gone silent, when the room was empty, when the moment seemed to have passed, another arrow began to rise from within. You lay there and asked yourself, was I too sensitive? Then another arrow. Did I do something wrong to make them treat me that way? Then another. If I had been easier to love, maybe they would not have left. This is how suffering changes its shape. In the beginning, it is the pain of being hurt. Then it becomes shame. Then it becomes hope. Then it becomes guilt. Then it becomes a quiet habit, checking to see if they have messaged, replaying one sentence, rereading an old conversation, imagining what they think of you now. Each time, the body receives the old signal again. The heart beats faster. The hands grow cold. The stomach tightens. The eyes stay on the screen for too long, even when some quiet part of you already knows you should not open it again. The mouth says, "I am fine," but something is stuck in the throat. The mind says, "Just one look." But after one look, the whole night is pulled back into the old room, where you are both the wounded one and the one accusing yourself for having been wounded. This is how suffering is reborn, not always through a new event. Sometimes, suffering is reborn through a memory repeated too many times, through a name that has not been put down, through a small hope that this time they will understand. This time, they will be gentle. This time, they will see the blood on the wing and will not try to take the bird back. But hope can also be a very soft arrow. It does not make you bleed at once. It only keeps you standing for a long time before a door that once made you cold. The first arrow may have been shot by someone else, but the arrows that come after, if they are not seen clearly, may be shot again by the mind itself, with memory, with guilt, with waiting. And that is why some people may have left your life long ago, yet still have a chair inside you, a chair placed very deep, very quietly, as if the archer is still sitting there, waiting for the bird inside you to tremble one more time. This does not mean the pain is your fault. It means the pain has become a place where the mind keeps returning, because it has not yet learned where safety is. So at this moment, we do not need to look at the archer. We do not need to look at the arrow. We return to the bird wrapped in warmth, the bird breathing weakly beside the fire. And we ask one question, much simpler than all the stories the mind has been telling. What does it truly need in order to live? The bird did not know how to answer in words. It simply lay there inside the warm robe, close to the fire, its wings not fully folded, its breath still thin, so thin, like a white thread trying not to break in the dark. It did not need to know what Siddhatta was thinking. It did not need to know why the arrow had been shot. It did not need to hear an explanation that the shot was only a game, or a mistake, or the right of the one who held the bow, or something the bird should have understood. Its body did not need an argument. Its body needed the bleeding to stop. It needed warmth. It needed to be placed somewhere the footsteps of the one who carried the bow would not make it tremble again. Siddhatta looked at the swan for a long time. In the firelight, the whiteness of its wings was no longer untouched. Some feathers were stained with blood. Some were bent out of place. Some still moved with a faint trembling each time the bird breathed. And because of that, Siddhatta could not see it as something to be fought over. A wounded life does not need to be dragged into the arguments of the uninjured. It does not need to become a prize for the one who shot more skillfully. It does not need to become evidence for the one who speaks more loudly. It does not need to become anyone's possession. It only needs to live. And perhaps there is a part of you like that too. A part that was once clear, once trusting, once open. A part that believed if you loved enough, endured enough, explained yourself clearly enough, the other person would finally stop hurting you. But then an arrow came, not always as one great act of cruelty. Sometimes it came as a cold sentence, a disappearance, a look of contempt, a silence used as punishment, a tender apology that sounded beautiful for one evening, and then turned back into the same wound. And something inside you fell. After that, you may have believed you needed the person who hurt you to come back and explain the wound. You needed them to admit it, to apologize in exactly the right way, to say that you were not wrong, that you were not too sensitive, that you did not deserve to be treated that way. But the bird does not need the one who shot the arrow to explain why it hurts. It needs to be placed where the arrow cannot reach it again. Perhaps the wounded part of you is the same. It does not need one more sleepless night rereading old words. It does not need one more open door just to see if the other person has finally become gentle. It does not need one more conversation where you enter hoping to be healed and leave with a new cut. It needs you to return, not to the one who shot the arrow, but to the trembling part inside your own heart. To see clearly, this wound needs care. It does not need to be handed back to the one who made it. And right there, the truth begins to shine. Quietly, clearly, the wound is real. The arrow is real. The blood on the swan's wing is real. The trembling in its small body is real. But the thought that the one who shot the arrow has the right to own the bird, that is not real. That is only a story added after the wound. A story that may sound reasonable to the one holding the bow. A story that may feel familiar to anyone who has lived inside a relationship that caused them pain. Because they entered your life so deeply, you thought they had the right to stay. Because they once made you cry, you thought your tears still belonged to them. Because they touched your weakest place, you thought they understood you best. But this is not true. The person who made you fall created a wound. They did not create a right to own you. Someone may have hurt you. That is true. A sentence may have once tightened your chest. That is true. An abandonment may have kept you awake for many nights. That is also true. But from those truths, the mind can write another sentence. A sentence that was never part of reality. I still belong to them. I need them to acknowledge my pain before this wound can mean anything. I have to answer. Or I am cruel. I cannot leave. Because leaving would make everything I suffered meaningless. But these are not the event itself. These are the stories the mind adds afterward. Siddhatta did not deny the arrow. He did not deny the blood. He did not pretend the swan was not in pain. But he also did not allow the arrow to become a certificate of ownership. He looked directly at what was there. A wounded bird. One hand that had caused harm. One hand that was trying to heal. That was all. And when things are seen that simply, they begin to return to their proper place. The archer is no longer the owner. The arrow is no longer destiny. The wound is no longer a rope tying the bird back to the hand that made it fall. And so it is with you. You may have been hurt, but your life does not have to continue belonging to the person who hurt you. The wound needs to be seen. It needs to be cared for. It needs to be protected from new arrows. But it does not need to be offered back to the one who created it, simply because they call their return love. But not everything called love is truly love. Some words sound very gentle, yet inside them there is still a hand reaching for the old bough. Some apologies are soft, almost beautiful, but after the apology, the bird still has to live in a room where it can hear the bowstring. Some people say they miss you, but what they truly miss is not your life. They miss the feeling that they can still make you turn around, still make you explain yourself, still make you feel guilty for choosing silence. If we do not see clearly, it is very easy to mistake control for care, to mistake jealousy for depth, to mistake being pulled back for destiny, to mistake the fear of disappointing someone for kindness. But compassion is not handing the swan back to the one who shot it. Compassion is not opening the door just to prove you are no longer angry. Compassion is not letting a wound keep bleeding while telling yourself that you are learning to be forgiving. True compassion begins with seeing things as they are. This is pain. This is fear. This is memory. This is the body folding inward. This is the hand wanting to pick up the phone. Not because the heart is truly ready to open the door, but because an old guilt is whispering, "If you stay silent, you are cruel." To see that clearly is already to create a small space. A space between you and the old reaction. Between the wound and the story the mind adds to it. Between the sound of a message and the hand that rushes to answer. And inside that small space, freedom begins to appear. Not the loud kind of freedom that announces, "I am healed now." Not the kind that needs to prove it has no pain left. But the quiet freedom of someone who realizes, perhaps for the first time, I do not have to act from fear right away. Siddhatta did not need to hate Devdutta in order to protect the swan. He only needed to see that the swan was wounded, and that the hand which had just shot it was not a safe place to return it. You do not need to hate the person who hurt you. You do not need to make them into a monster in order to choose peace. But you do need enough clarity not to call their return love. If every time they return, the most innocent part of you has to brace itself for harm. Some doors close not because the heart has become cold. They close because behind that door, something small and living needs to sleep. Something tender needs to stop defending itself. Something wounded needs to breathe without listening for footsteps. And before you can love anyone again in a clean and honest way, perhaps there is one simpler thing to learn first. Do not answer the one who shot the arrow while the bird inside you is still trembling. Do not answer the one who shot the arrow while the bird inside you is still trembling. Because a trembling body does not usually answer from clarity. It answers from fear, from guilt, from old habit, from the worry that if you stay silent, you will become the villain in someone else's story. So tonight, if an old name has just appeared on your screen, give yourself a pause. Not to punish anyone, not to prove that you are strong, but to avoid handing the wounded bird back to a hand that still carries the smell of the bowstring. First, put the phone down. Turn the screen face down. If you can, place it a little farther away from the bed, on a table, across the room, somewhere your hand does not have to reach for it in the dark. Do not argue with the arrow at midnight. Do not let one message decide the rhythm of your heart when your body is asking for rest. Then take a small sip of water. Feel your feet. Feel your back touching the bed. Say quietly to yourself, "This is the body feeling afraid. This is memory returning. This is not a command." Let that be enough for a breath. Then another. And if you still feel awake enough, write 3 simple lines. The first line is this: what is the real wound here? Do not begin with their name. Begin with the truth. I was dismissed. I was controlled. I was abandoned. I was made to feel afraid. I had to make myself smaller in order to keep someone from leaving. The second line is this: what story has my mind added to this wound? Maybe it says, I am not worthy of love. Maybe it says, I have to answer in order to be kind. Maybe it says, I need them to admit what they did before my pain can mean anything. Maybe it says, if I close the door, then everything I suffered was wasted. Write it down gently, not to blame yourself, only to see the difference between what happened and what the mind has built around what happened. Then write the third line. Tonight, what is one small way I can care for the bird inside me? It does not have to be a grand decision. It only has to be real. Turn off the notifications. Do not reread old messages. Eat something warm. Take a warm shower. Call someone safe. Or simply place one hand on your chest and breathe with the part of you that is still shaking. The way Siddhatta sat quietly beside the little swan, without demanding that it fly before it was ready. And if your story is not only an old wound, but includes threats, coercion, violence, or real danger in the outer world, then please do not ask the wounded part of you to carry this alone. Reach for a trusted person, a safe place, a professional hand, a door that does not open back toward the arrow. Karma begins to change in very small moments. Not always through one dramatic decision. Sometimes, it begins in the quiet second when you do not repeat the old reaction. You do not answer right away. You do not return right away. You do not accuse yourself right away. You simply move the bird inside you out of the arrow's reach. And for tonight, that is enough. And for tonight, that is enough. You do not have to heal your whole life in one night. You do not have to understand everything that happened. You do not have to become so strong that an old name can pass through your memory and leave no ache behind. The swan in Siddhatta's arms did not need to fly the moment the arrow was removed. It was still weak, still in pain, still able to startle at a sound beyond the doorway. Its wings could not yet open fully. Its wound could not close simply because it had been placed near warmth. But something had changed. It was no longer alone on the cold ground. It was no longer struggling beneath the shadow of the one who carried the bough. It was no longer being called the property of the very hand that had made it fall. It was being held somewhere safer, somewhere that did not demand it recover immediately, somewhere that simply allowed it to breathe. Perhaps tonight, the wounded part of you needs only this. Not a final declaration, not one last battle, not proof that you have let go, or stopped loving, or forgiven, or become completely calm. Only a return to your own body, to the breath moving in and out, to the weight of your back resting against the bed, to the hand you may place gently over your chest. As a small reminder, I am still here. I do not have to hand myself back to what hurt me. The one who shot the arrow may have made the bird fall, but he does not own the sky. The person who hurt you may have left a deep wound, but they do not own the rest of your life. Tonight, you do not need to fly. You only need to stop handing your wings back to the one who made them bleed. Let the phone remain where it is. Let the words that do not need an answer tonight sleep inside the dark. Let the small bird within you be wrapped in a warm robe, near a quiet fire, in a place where no one demands that it belong to anyone. Just breathe, a little slower, a little softer. And if, as you fall asleep, your heart still hurts, remember this. Pain does not mean you have to return. Pain only means that something inside you needs to be loved in the right way. May the wound in you be set down gently tonight. May your body feel safe enough to rest. May your mind become clear enough to see that love never needs an arrow to prove possession. And when morning comes, may the bird inside you still not be rushed to fly high. May it simply remain alive, still breathing, still held in warmth, still knowing, somewhere beyond the night, that the sky is there, quiet, open, patient, waiting for the wings to heal.